Good morning, everybody. My name is Kimmy McBurney with Allied Home Inspection, your host for today. First of all, thank you guys so much for coming out. I know I feel like I'm finally getting in the back of the swing of getting back into the swing of things. I can also speak English. Yeah, I mean, as we all know, we all had a strange fourth quarter, which is why we're large in part what we're here to talk about today. But excited to get back into it with you guys. For some reason, I have like a disproportionate amount of announcements, so bear with me. I appreciate your patience. First, we're going to do my favorite thing, which you all know by now if you've been ever seen me speak ever. I wanted to introduce you to our team. Like I said, Allied Home Inspection, formerly American Eagle Home Inspection, if you are familiar with that branding. If you guys could all do me a favor, get out your phones. And if you could find us on Instagram, even if you've done this before, you got to do it again. I promise there's an incentive. If you don't follow us on Instagram, please give us a follow. It's the Allied Home Inspector is our handle. If you do follow us, find a random post and give it a like. What that's going to do is put you guys into my news feed, and we're going to have a little drawing really quick. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see who the phone. Christy B, 1973. All right, congrats. You have won Unreasonable Hospitality. This is one of my favorite books right now. I highly recommend it to everybody, especially if you're in a slump with marketing. The guy who wrote it, he comes from the restaurant industry, kind of like the book's basically on revolutionizing hospitality, but he speaks to realtors. And one of the examples he gives, I'll give to you guys, like for a closing gift, going above and beyond. And it doesn't mean spending more money. He said, instead of that cliche bottle of champagne in the fridge, if your client's a yogi, maybe when they move in, there's a yoga mat and a set of 5-pound weights waiting for them and a little sweat towel, right? Probably cheaper than a bottle of champagne, but little things like that. And he just gives some really cool examples. So highly recommend the book. I did the audiobook, but congrats, Christy. Enjoy. You're so welcome. So that's us. And the reason I do that, I'm going to be frank, now you're all in my CRM. My CRM is social media. I like people to know us. There's nothing I can say in the next 2 minutes to convince us to use us as your home inspector over anyone else, and that's okay. I like for you guys to get to know us on social media. We post every day. We post fun finds from the field. What did I post today? Oh, new construction find today, termite tubes. Don't skip those new construction inspections. And then we also share a lot about our team so you guys can get to know us organically. So that's us. We do it all the things. All right, moving on. One of my announcements. So last week I hosted a broker agnostic social media workshop with Corey Wall, which was fantastic. So we're taking the show on the road. If you have a brokerage which you want to bring this to, let me know. Basically telling everyone kind of my tricks of how we've grown our social media brand as a CRM. Last year alone, we had over 20 million views on Instagram, qualified leads that we can get from there. So if you have a brokerage, or if you don't have a brokerage, or a location, happy to host somewhere. So let me know if any of you guys want to take this to your brokerage. Absolutely free. We bring lunch. You just need to give me a day and a time. And then shameless plug, Rodrigo, who owns Vesta Property Management, one of our sponsors for today. I really want to plug this. I'm getting nothing for this. He says nothing, or no perks for me. AVL Meetup, if you guys haven't been, I'm especially urging realtors. If you guys know Zach Ruiz, he does Ruiz Report Market Data Update. They always kick off the meeting with a market update. This is tonight. So kind of last minute, but they do it monthly, and he does a fantastic market report. If you guys don't have a resource from your brokerage or whatnot to do market reports, invaluable. So if you can make it tonight, try and check it out. If not, they do repost it in a podcast. So can't say enough good things about AVL Meetup. And thank you to our sponsors. So again, just want to shout out Vesta Property Management. That's Rodrigo. They're fantastic to work with. I've worked with them personally. They do free rental estimates. And if the seller provides, they will give agent commissions and all that stuff. So they are our friends. And you'll hear from everyone else at some point. So I'll skip that. So first up, we have to thank for our beautiful venue today, Julia Higgs with WNC Real Estate Photography. So I'm going to welcome her up to say a few quick things about her.
Hello, everybody. A lot of you probably know me at this point. I recognize a lot of your faces. But if you don't know me, I am
Julia. I'm the owner of WNC Real Estate Photography, along with our co-owner and our primary photographer, Jackie, who is my wife, and out in the field today working. She's elusive. You won't see her a lot. You'll see me a lot more than you see her. We also have another photographer. His name's Ben, and a full-time videographer, DeRay. So anything you guys need to market yourself, your listings, we are here to help you. We want to partner with you guys to build long-term relationships so that you guys feel really safe and secure when you recommend your listings to us and bring us to market your properties and yourselves. I do want to do a little bit. So videography is huge right now. So the one thing I'm telling people is, like, we have one of the best videographers in Western North Carolina that works with us. He has been working with That Old House show that is everywhere. He does stuff with films that have been in international film festivals. So he is really fabulous. So if there's any videography dream that you want to make a reality, he and I work together where basically I do a lot of the storyboarding and I come up with the vision, and then he helps execute it the day of that we're doing the video. So that's a big thing in 2025. I almost just said 2024. I had to think about that for a second. It's a big thing in 2025, and it's going to just continue. It's been a big thing forever. But if you're thinking about videography and you're like, I don't know, do I want to be in it? Do I not? He is just really fabulous with making you feel super comfortable on film. But yeah, everything's online. I'm kind of like Kimmy, like I could tell you everything we do, but like we do everything and it's all on our website. All of our pricing is there. You can book online. And then if you guys just want to like ever get to know us, just reach out. We are all over the place and love to see you and chat with our potential clients. So WNC Real Estate Photography would love to help you guys with marketing.
Hang on to for 1 second. Also, I want to say, because like I said, we're talking about the storm and what a lot of us did to evolve as businesses during the storm. I want to give a shout out to WNC Real Estate Photography. I mean, first of all, we're all in the same boat, right? So all of our worlds completely stopped during the storm. They, like us, really tried to reinvent themselves, doing, insurance claim documentation if they needed to, whatever they could do to help their clients document their properties. So awesome for that. But then also let us know if it's still
okay. Yeah, so I am still doing it. So properties that were affected by the hurricane, we are doing like basically pay what you can if you need to get it up and remarketed. So it's for photos only. If you want to do like video and things like that, we do ask that you pay the price that's on our website. But if you want us to come out and just get some photos so you can get a home up and marketed, that's pay what you can. We went to Green Mountain last week and it was $35. They were like, I can give you $35. I was like, all right, let's do it. So whatever you guys need, definitely let us know. We're here for you. Our business thrives when you guys thrive. So that's exactly what we want to see.
So
so let
excuses
us know as they're coming on the market. Yeah.
Not to not use cell phone photos.
Yeah,
Okay?
I know. Please don't, like, literally, because that's not best for you or your clients. And we know, like, for this Hurricane Helene homes, money's tight. I mean, money's already tight for brokers. And then if you have sellers who are going through a lot of stuff, it's hard. So whatever we can do to help. And for brand new agents, we do have like payment plans if you guys need that for like your first 1 to 3 listings, just kind of depending on where you're at with your finances. Just reach out and we can do like some upfront or some at closing or whatever you guys need to do. So yeah, we want to work with you. We're part of the community. We love our brokers. So yeah.
Give me a hand for that. That's awesome. Thank you, Julie. Oh, I'll get the mic back. Mike.
I'm just gonna let you listen to me breathe for the next hour and a half.
Thank you. I'm sure Dave would really appreciate editing that audio. Okay, so we're going to try something a little different. I put some worksheets on your table, so I'm going to ask you guys to kind of take a minute to reflect. So obviously we're here to talk about learn from those who were successful during the storm and that kind of persevered some challenging times. I guess this does revolve around generated business, for lack of a better term, prospecting. So let's just fill out the top box. Off the top of your head, what is a goal maybe for today? What are you hoping to learn? Or what is an individual prospecting goal you may have coming up? Ari, do you want to work on your social media? Do you need to put some elbow grease on your CRM? Do you want to do a certain amount of reach outs per week? Let's think of something, and this may evolve over the next hour, but jot down some things you want to work on. Anyone want to share? Galen, what you got going in your world? You're here for ideas? I love it. I'm here for lunch. I love it. Anyone have a good one they want to share? Something they want to challenge themselves, have some accountability on doing? Nobody?
One of the things this is really not for brokers, well, kind of is, but one of the things I'm doing right now is like reaching out to, I have like a dream client list. So I think maybe for brokers that translates to like neighborhoods you really wish you could sell in, or something like that. But like I really like to have a list of like people that I'm not yet working with, but that I really hope to work with in the future. And
Yeah.
for nothing else, just to like keep those connections forming and making sure they know that like I'm around.
Yeah, I love that. Being intentional, writing it down, I think is super important. Personally, I was actually invited to a vision boarding event. Never vision boarded in my life, but it was fun. One thing that we put on ours, we really want a septic truck. Things you never thought you'd say in life, right? I don't care. I'm doing it. It's going to be cool. And if you guys know our Inspector Lindsay, she will be the captain of said septic truck. So we're really excited. That's going up there. Newsflash, they are not cheap. So anyways, let's all write our goals down. Yes. If you want to sponsor my septic truck, I only need 72 sponsors to afford it. All right, well, let's keep moving. So just a quick kind of like keynote from Dave Crigliano with Asheville Video Marketing. You guys, I have received some of the most sound business advice ever in my career from Dave, most of it for free. And if you have seen any of our rebranding videos on our website, this is the guy. So I invited him to kind of speak about what he did for his business, tell you a little bit about what he does. Dave Crigliano, Asheville Video Marketing. We got to use the arrows. So right arrow.
All right, I'll use the
How do
arrows.
I get this thing to go away? I don't know.
Beautiful. Okay. Hello, I'm Dave. Follow me on Instagram. Or don't. I mean, follow your heart, really. I do, my business is called Asheville Video Marketing. I do video marketing for service-based businesses, people in real estate, attorneys, consultants, people who typically have a lot of competition in their field and need to build trust, build relationships with people before they'll choose to do business with them. So I make video content that helps them do that, and then I work with them on strategies to get it in front of the right people. You said use the arrows. Hold on.
I guess we're clicking.
Okay, we're clicking. But times have been tough for me. After the storm, we lost two of our biggest retainer clients, which was a huge hit. A lot of our recurring clients, people who I could reliably kind of depend on to bring me projects every now and again. Haven't heard so much from them, not as many referrals. So I've had to spend this time figuring out how to generate leads, how to get new clients, people who have never heard of me before, which is something that I haven't really had to do in a while. And in the past, a lot of the things that I've done have not been so successful. Like I've tried cold emailing and networking and cold calling and all that stuff. Never really worked very well for me. But the thing that did work was Instagram. About 3 years ago, I started getting really active on Instagram and doing a lot of like short form video content. And that really helped me make connections with people and start generating business. And that was great. So I figured I would go back to focusing on Instagram. And it paid off. I've been generating leads, some good leads, and I've been bringing on some new clients, and things are amazing. They're good. Things are good. Things are getting better, but it's working. By the way, in addition to video marketing, I also provide Canva presentation design services, just so you know. And it paid off. So I'm getting leads and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing, I haven't posted a post on Instagram. I think I posted one post since Helene happened. I don't do any DM messaging. I don't really post to stories very much. I don't really use the app all that much because a lot's changed in 3 years since I started doing this. I had a kid, I have no time to myself. And right now I can't really afford to hire somebody like me to, plot out my content and make my content, post it for me. So I've been using a paid ad strategy that does what an organic strategy is supposed to do. It gets me out in front of people who've never heard of me before, builds brand awareness, stays in front of people who have started following me or engaged with me on Instagram, and it keeps pushing my stuff towards people who have suggested that they might be interested in working with me to book calls and all that kind of stuff. For me, this has been working a lot better than my organic strategy ever did. And I think for most people, especially people who don't actually like posting on social media or creating content or spending all this time doing that stuff, it makes a lot more sense, and it's actually a lot more affordable. Because, you know, the logic behind an organic strategy is if I post consistently, if I'm always putting content out there, if people are always seeing me, I'll stay top of mind. And when someone needs my services, they'll remember me and they'll call me and I'll get a new client. You know, that's kind of the philosophy that guides most of our organic strategies. But for most people, no one ever sees your content. Maybe like a small subset of your followers might see some of the stuff that you post sometimes. Maybe every now and again you have a viral post that, you know, gets a lot of likes or whatever. But, you know, the results that you're getting from social media are probably not what you were expecting or would hope for, given the amount of effort that you're putting into. And the reason is because the algorithm hates you. It really does. It's nothing personal. But, you know, Instagram's goal is for, you know, every user, every time they log in, to only see content that they really love, and that you know, is relevant to them. And a lot of the times, you know, your content isn't. And if, you know, after a few times of people seeing your posts organically, they're not engaging, then Instagram's like, oh, they don't like, I mean, they followed them, but they don't seem to really like their stuff. So they're not going to show your stuff to them. And pretty soon they're never ever gonna see you. So why invest in this strategy? Why spend so much time doing this? Especially if you really want to do it well, if you really want to show up in front of people all the time, and be there when they need your service, you need to constantly be creating really great content, investing in the quality, investing in your messaging, doing the engagement, doing the DM outreach, doing your stories, keeping up with the algorithm, and doing all this stuff. You know, and a lot of people do it because, you know, it's free, right? It doesn't cost you anything to do this. But my perspective is, anything that you do in your business yourself for your business is essentially hiring you to do that, right? So, you know, how much do you charge an hour? How much do you make an hour? This is how much your business is spending on your organic strategy. So, you know, what I do, I mean, what I've been doing costs me, you know, between $40 and $50 a day, which seems like a lot, I'm sure, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they're like, that's nothing. It's a lot to me, but it's paying off. But it doesn't have to be that much. There's ways that we can stay in front of people for just a few dollars a day. And so I put a step-by-step guide together for you that you can literally just go step-by-step, set up your account, set up your ads. And it's geared for people in real estate. So everything that you kind of need to know to make this work is in there. And it's, I mean, I don't sell paid ad running services. There's no like upsell there. Obviously, if you want great content to go in your ads, get in touch. But what this covers is just a basic strategy, a basic way to put together your ads to make sure that you show up in front of your followers and people who engage with you once a week. But there's, it also shows you how to build out the strategy. So if you want to be there every single day, as well as, you know, other things that I do, like I'm advertise to cold audiences, and I run conversion ads to really go after the people who have engaged with me, who seem interested. That kind of stuff's not in there, but you can reach out. I'll put a guide together for you for that. I just didn't want it to be like super huge and overwhelming. So I hope that's useful to you. Bye.
I have so much to say. By the way, I'm literally looking through this guide. This is phenomenal. This is why I trust anything that Dave does. And he even has real estate specific tips on there, because we all know what happens the first time you run an ad on Instagram. You get flagged for fair housing and you give up and you go away. I know I do. And we only do home inspections. I was like, I don't even sell houses. So Dave, that was fantastic. Thank you. I will for sure be looking into that. But yes, anything Dave does, he has my vote. So Thank you, Dave. So let's brainstorm one more time before we get rolling to the panel. So who's going to write down call Dave for a free consult? He does a lot of free consultations. So if that is a strategy, I held the social media workshop last week, and one of the questions I got was, what's boosting? Should you boost a post? And I thought immediately to Dave's face, which he posted basically a snapshot saying like, don't boost. You know, you're just feeding Mark Zuckerberg's pockets. Have a strategy, have some intention behind it if you're going to spend some money. So I'll definitely be utilizing Dave's services. So again, brainstorming. Anything yet that has come to mind that you want to add to your goals? Anything you want to stop doing? Stop boosting. There was probably a month where I boosted way too much stuff just because it's like a slot machine. I'm like, ooh, boost. For $6, I can get in front of 2,000 people. This is awesome. So that's, I don't do it anymore. Chuck had to cut me off. He's like, stop boosting posts. So what are we going to do? Stop doing? What are we going to do less of? And then hopefully when we get into the panel, we're going to talk more about what we're going to keep doing more of, and start doing. So one last tidbit of information before we get there. Jason Sherbarth, Rocket Mortgage, we have him to thank for our wonderful lunch today. So I want to invite him up to tell you a little bit more about what he does. Jason Sherbarth, Rocket Mortgage. Oh, you can mic yourself. It's a clip.
It's complicated.
You can just hold it.
I'm just gonna, can you guys hear me? All right. So my name's Jason from Rocket Mortgage. I've been in the industry for about 14 years, been at Rocket for 11, which is kind of crazy. Most people don't last that long. I moved down here about 3 years ago. So I used to do all the BIP lending at Rocket. So DEA, ATF, Google, relocations, people who had multi-million dollars at Charles Schwab Bank. I did those. I was doing about 70 clients a month. It was great. But it wasn't great for my personal life because I have 2 kids and I'm married. So they started a new program called Rocket Local. They asked me to move to Charlotte. I told them no, but I would do Asheville. And I've been down here for a little bit over 3 years now. Absolutely love it. It's nice, but I don't have to do 70 clients a month. I can do 10 to 20 and enjoy my life, spend a little bit more time with the clients and make sure it's going to be a great experience. We do a lot for clients. You know, obviously everybody likes the 800 credit score, 20 to 40% down clients. But we don't concentrate on those. We have free credit repair. So say you have a client who doesn't qualify, we can go ahead and help them from getting to like a 560 up to 620 to go FHA. Or there's like loan level pricing adjustments every 20 points you get. So 700, 720, 740, 760, 780. If we can get them to the next tier, it might save them thousands of dollars, right? Which means you guys don't have to get concessions because we just save them that money. So that helps. We have a free 2-1 buy down program where Rocket pays for the 2-1 buy down as long as they're under a certain income. We have another program, which is a conventional 3% down where we give a 2% grant and they only have to do 1% down. We do single wides, double wides, condos, do pretty much everything. If you guys are going after builders, we have a new builder program where we will, if a builder partners with us, we will give that builder a 1% lender credit to give to any buyer. So that way it makes them more competitive in the space. And that might make you a little bit more competitive when you're going after their business, you know? A lot of them actually will go ahead and give a little bit of money themselves to make it a 2-1 buy down on those. So that way they can compete with like the bigger lenders or the bigger builders like DR Horton and stuff like that, because you can get a 2% lower interest rate. So instead of like a 6.875, they can walk in with a 4.875 for the first year, 5.875 for the second year, which might move their house a little bit faster, right? And then last thing is if you get any clients who are with Rocket, now Rocket's a big company, right? We have people that have been there 2 months. We've been people that have been there 25 years. You never know who you're going to get. So what I ask for our company to do is to, if somebody down here gets a Rocket retail client, I can take them over now. So if you want to work with somebody local and you don't want to work and play the slot machine there, give me a call. Say, hey, Jason, I'd rather have this client work with you locally. And I can take them over and make sure it's a good experience. So with this being a new year, take a chance, try me out, see if you like me. It might be a good thing.
So.
Yeah, so just a quick thing, like I never recommend a vendor that I haven't personally worked with. Jason is awesome. One of the things I commend Jason on, one of the most responsive people. And when you're working with me, like paramount. I was joking, we were in a networking group and someone was like, I was like, oh, he's so responsive. I was talking about David Rathy and someone in healthcare was like, oh, what's responsive? Like 24 to 48 hours? I was like, 1 hour? You know, we're in real estate, so we all speak the language. So 1 second, I'm going to shift mics around for a second so we can hear all our wonderful speakers. So yeah, let's dig in. So honestly, you guys, I am a student just like y'all today. You know, I think when the storm hit, we all had a shift, right? Obviously, first and foremost, we're all in this together. Yes, it was tough, struggles, but I really do want to focus on the business today and kind of get away from kind of the immediate impacts of it, because I think we've all talked a lot about that. So same as you guys, right? We're all in a struggle. No one has cell service, no one had internet. But at some point, we all had to look back to our business. Maybe someone had an immediate need from your business, or you had an immediate thing to give. Like for us, for example, you know, regular home inspections pretty much stopped, much like you guys, you know, people weren't out there getting routine home inspections for a couple weeks. So I immediately was like, how can we help? You know, we have now 6 able-bodied inspectors. So yes, we could volunteer our time, but was there a higher and best use for us? So immediately we were doing post-storm inspections, which we still are. And then we also raised over $30,000 to do free water testing, free well inspections, septic inspections. So like I said, from my perspective, that was how I ran my business. But I'll tell you guys something about today. There is one thing all 4 of these people did to have awesome Q4s, just one. And I didn't do it. So I think you guys are gonna be really interested to learn what it is today, but I pre-interviewed all of them and it was the same thing for all of them. So hopefully that's gotten you on the edge of your seat and we can, that's gonna go on all of our keep doing, do more of, start doing. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome everybody up. So I'm gonna, got a little brag on them from their pre-interview. So first I will welcome up Buck Shaw. Where did he go? With Dwell Realty. Buck, thank you. So Buck's originally from Pennsylvania. We have 2 Pennsylvanians on the panel. So now he's with Dwell Realty. So he actually came from social work. He was in social work for 20 years, but now has been licensed since 2016. But I'll stop there. I'll let him share a little bit about his work. So thank you, Buck, for joining us. And so for your guys' information, when I went to create this panel, I literally ran Canopy market data from Q4. I said, I'm not just going to reach out to who I think is being successful. These people all have proven track records from that quarter. So thank you, Buck, for joining us. We'll go in order. So next up, I'm going to welcome Amanda Holland. So she's a bit of a pinch hitter today, so we all have to give her a little bit of grace. Heather Mackey, who owns Mackey Realty, was supposed to be here, but unfortunately her children were sick. So she's tapped her broker in charge, Amanda, who is equally awesome to be with us to chat. So thank you, Amanda, for joining us. And then David Rathy, Johnson Property Group. I feel like I always have to say the whole thing. Welcome. David is in my close circle. Him and I work together a lot, but really, really impressive numbers. So also from Pennsylvania, also had a long career like Buck in other fields. He comes from IT, type project management field, but thank you, David, for joining us. And lastly, Adam Brooks, someone else from my close circle. He is a native. He's, I guess, well, no, you're not from here. Adam is a native Ashevillean holding down the panel. Also came from kind of the tech world and migrated to real estate. So thank you all for joining us. Let's warm them up. We'll give them a round of applause. Okay, so we're going to go down the line. We're going to talk quickly about your real estate career. So give me a little snapshot of how long you've been doing real estate, kind of, you know, your niche, average production. So Buck.
Like you mentioned, I started in 2016 as far as being officially licensed. Always been kind of fascinated with the process, excuse me, since, you know, buying our own personal home first in year 2000 and moved around several times since then over the years, and always been that kind of nosy client that's like, well, what's this mean? You know, what's that mean? And to the point when I bought our current house, in 2013, I never really stopped monitoring the market and was getting burnt out with social work. It was becoming bad for my own mental health. And I was like, why don't I just do this? I'm still like obviously interested in it. So kind of halfway in, was part-time this, part-time that. And then went full-time in 2019. And yeah, just been building clientele and business since then. And yeah, I really enjoy it and like it. And it's a ongoing challenge in mostly a good way.
Fair. I think we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
So brag moment, like you said. So apparently, on average, Brooke, you mentioned you do about $8 million a year. You know, you've worked up to that. But post Helene alone, Q4 alone, he did over $3 million in transactions. So very awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to hear all about how you did it. Okay, and Amanda, I know this is we've sprung this on you, so you didn't have time to prepare. And like I said, she is a broker in charge, so her answer is a little different because she is managing more so of a team.
Yeah, and
Tell us about your real estate journey.
I started in 2015, so I'm headed into my 10th year, which is crazy in real estate. I fell into this a little backwards. My husband, who's in the photo with me, Jay, he decided he was going to get his real estate license. It was January. It was quiet. I said, why not? So, yeah, right. It was just a total, by accident. My mother was a real estate agent back in the day in Virginia. So I was like, I speak this language a little bit. Let's see how it goes. I actually started part-time as well. I was doing marketing design services for a jewelry designer here in Weaverville. And ultimately, the firm that we decided to hang our license with needed an admin. So I said, why not? Let's try something new. So I came in from an admin perspective. Did that for a little while, kind of got to know all the compliance, all the complaints, all the, I will say, if you have an office administrator in your office, give them some love. They make our worlds. I didn't realize how big that was until I stepped into the broker in charge role and got a new admin, and I realized just how much they carry, and how much they make us look great and shine. So, but yes, I was asked to be the managing broker, and not long after becoming the admin, just as relationships, learning the rules, all that good stuff. I'm a non-competing broker in charge. I still carry the broker in charge title, but actually with Mackie, I'm an education director now. So my goal is I travel. I'll be in Charlotte next week at our Charlotte office, but I travel throughout our offices and basically try to give people new ideas. So I'm excited to learn and hear all the new ideas so I can take them and share them. But ultimately, my goal is try to keep everyone up and running and inspired. This industry can be a booger, and to say the least. Obviously, Helene was a real booger, but ultimately, I think we all feel burnout and stress, whether you're in the mortgage lending. We put a lot of fires out, and people don't realize that. So yes, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be with Mackie Realty these days and a new role. So yeah, I don't have any production. So.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I love the educator mindset. I think that's going to be awesome. So win-win for us. Okay, David Rathie, tell us about your real estate journey.
Oh gosh, well, I think it started a long time ago. Back out of high school in the early 80s, I moved to North Carolina. I've been here 40 some years now. And I was born in Appalachia in Pennsylvania, but then I moved to Vietnam when I was a kid, and I absolutely hated it. So my dad was in construction, that kind of work. And I always had an interest in working on homes, construction, things like that. So when I finished college, went to Campbell University. When I finished college and got my degree in computer information systems, it just wasn't creative enough for me. So I started buying homes and repairing and flipping and renovating and updating homes, and did that on the side. And I worked with a lot of other realtors. I lived in Eastern North Carolina at that time, and really enjoyed it, and did quite a few of those. And then when I moved up here, again, I was so excited to get back to Appalachia, and I worked in IT around 2020. My job, a long-standing job in IT, evaporated. I had already started taking real estate courses, and I thought, well, I'll just get my own real estate license and buy my own properties and do this on the side, right? It's easy. Well, my job evaporated, and I'm like, well, okay, this is my new job, real estate. There's no plan B. And I knew Chuck, so I gave Chuck a call, and next thing you know, I'm on his team. I've been on his team since 2020. I got my license in late 2020. didn't sell any properties. I went 8 months without selling any properties, but 2021 came around. I sold 27 homes my first year. Yeah, I averaged 35 to 40 a year has been my average, going on my 5th year. And I just really enjoy it. The thing I enjoy the most about it is the relational side of the job. I like to, if I could spend all day long going to see people at their homes, driving around, doing lunches and all that, and then, oh, by the way, can I help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate? That's what I would do. And honestly, as you'll hear, I do a lot of that.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, it's a brag moment for David because we pre-shared. So yeah, like I said, on average, he's built up to about just under 40 units a year, which is insane. Q4, he did 12 transactions coming out just around $4.5 million. That is some agent's entire year. So thank you, David, for joining us. Excited to dig into that. So Adam, what's your real estate journey like?
Well, actually, we're going to have some similarities there. So, been in sales one way or the other since college, but my previous job was in the tech field. I worked for a company that did lead development, lead generation, and CRM management and CRM development for real estate agents. So as part of my job, I got my real estate license, so I'd have some background and some ability to talk the lingo and understand what my clients were going through that process, and was cooking along pretty good with that. And then my job evaporated. Oddly enough, that happens in
How about
IT.
that?
Really?
Yeah.
Go figure. So here I was with a real estate license and nothing to do with it. So went in with both feet, just jumped in with both feet, and I'm in my 6th year full time as a real estate agent. As Kimmy mentioned, I'm a bit of a unicorn. I'm a native, born and raised. I still live within a few miles of where I grew up. Know a ton of people, which has been kind of a thing that's helped out, obviously, a little bit. But much like you, I like talking to people. This is a relationship business, we all know. And just like being involved with folks' lives and helping them out and being of service. And this was a great fit. So, we're just, like I say, all in this thing together, and but that's it. That was basically, not an intentional, foray into the real estate world, but, I've been pretty happy with it so far.
We're all here nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So brag on Adam. He does his best year is just under 8 million as well. In December alone. So Q4 was great, but December alone, just shy of 2.6 million, 7 transactions closed in December. Like I said, that's some agents' entire year. So excited to dig in and find out how they all did it. So we're going to kind of go one side to the other, and we'll go back and forth. So Adam, we'll start with you. So let's kind of take it back. We're going to go pre-storm, because obviously their business probably wasn't made entirely during the storm. Adam, pre-storm, tell us about the tenets of your business. How do you generate leads and get clients and all that?
So the vast majority of my business, better than 80% of it is sphere of influence. So I know a lot of people, deep roots, involved in church and community, and have been for a long time. So, folks know what I do, and that leads to a lot of referrals that way. I still have a fairly good working relationship with my prior employer, so I do get some lead gen from them as well. So that's kind of cool. I was downsized, but we left on pretty good terms. So they've allowed me to keep a good relationship there. So about 20% comes from that online marketing. I get some stuff from social media, but although I'm not nearly as good as you guys are, so I won't put too much weight on that. It's mostly just the relationships I have through my sphere of influence and talking with people and being accessible. So, or accessible. So business was going along pretty good. We were down just a little bit from our prior couple of years, like a lot of folks were, interest rates, things like that. There was a lot of things going on economically that impacted people's lives, but everything was moving along. It was a pretty solid year, had a pretty strong fourth quarter build up, and then the storm hit. So.
Cool. Well, I like that. We'll kind of put a cherry on top of it. So pre-storm. So same question to you, David. Pre-storm, what are the tenets of your business? How do you build your clientele?
Much like Adam, it's a very similar story, even in this sense. I'd say about at least 60% of my business is past clients, sphere of influence. referrals, networking referrals, business networking referrals, etc. I'm not native, but I have lived here for 20 years plus. Active in my church, have been that entire time. As is my wife and my family. 2 daughters, married, local, into very large families. So I know a lot of people in the community. A lot of referrals come from that direction. And it was, for me, yes, business as usual. The thing that I was finding a lot up until that point was there seemed to be quite a bit of outwait, hesitation, things like that before the storm. So it was business as usual. I would say that maybe the word business was not as up as it had been the prior year is not the right word. I think that we were seeing that quite a bit because you probably all heard as well. I'm waiting for the election, or I'm waiting for this. So I'm waiting for interest rates. So I too was hearing a lot of those things. So that's kind of where things were prior to the storm, business as usual, and just whether those relationships were being fruitful at the time or not, that's kind of where I would stay.
Okay, cool. And Amanda, obviously your answer is different because you're not in production, but speak to what your agents, do, or how you advise them or how you educate them. So what's everyone doing to build their business pre-storm?
Yeah, pre-storm, as far as coming from an education standpoint, it was, let's look at where we are and what we've got left in the last quarter. Like I said, obviously we didn't know it was on the horizon with one of our busiest months of the year being October. But ultimately, diving into that sphere and kind of just re-looking at who your trusted clients that already know, like, and love you, right? And they want to work. So I'm always, again, it's a relationship business. It's the, I think it's the trend that we're talking about up here is diving into those a step deeper. And then doing some marketing, some farming, whatever that is and looks like. But basically kind of, before pre-storm, it was like, let's look at where you are and where you want to be before the end of the year, or where you want to be maybe in the first quarter of next year, and kind of figuring out how to get there. So, and it was different avenues. Every agent's different, what their passion is, whether it is social media, whether it is buying leads, relocation, or just simply going into your sphere. So it was kind of a one-on-one of what do you need and where are you and where are we going, right? Which I do all the time and throughout the year. But yeah, so everything was business as normal, and let's see where you want to end up on the 31st of December. So
yeah. Well, that I learned something, actually, I had something with Sabrina the other day. October 1st is called Entrepreneur's New Year because we all build our businesses pretty much 3 months in advance, right? So on a few eves prior, we had this big disaster. But I love that you brought that up of like forecasting. And that's why I bring it up, because I think what made their Q4s was what they were doing prior. So I think it's really important. So Buck, same question to you. How were you building your business pre-storm?
A lot of similar stuff. Prior clients, personal relationships, sphere of influence kind of thing. I do try to make connections with anybody that wants to talk about real estate. I'm really self-conscious about coming across as salesy at any time, and so I generally don't initiate those conversations. But if people start talking, I'll talk to anybody about it. And my thing is I just want to be a positive resource for people, and I always say I'm never going to rush you. I'll run as fast as you need to run, and if you have some deadline, I'll call you on it, but I'm not going to pressure you to do any business with me. And so I get a lot of people that, I'm in it for the long haul. So I'm able to be patient and talk to people and say, hey, here's what I'm answering the question you initially came to me about. I don't care if you do any business with me today. And so a lot of people call me back in 6 months or 2 years and say hey, I remember talking with you and, I actually do want to sell or buy now. And so if you have the timeline to wait for that, I've seen that happen for me.
Yeah, I love that. So definitely kind of catching on to a theme, relationship based, but let's dig in a little bit more. Okay, so post-storm, like I said, caveat, obviously none of us had cell or internet service. We're all recovering, doing our own recovery efforts. I'm sure most of you are involved. So I do kind of want to move past that. So tell me about when you first had conscious thoughts of going back to your business, or maybe they were unconscious and that's kind of how it was just natural for you. But when did you first start thinking about it and what did that look like? So Buck, I'll let you start with that question.
Okay. It went back pretty quick because I do try to develop relationships with the people I'm working with. And so, and I know a lot of resources. And so I just tried to reach out whenever I was able to reach out. And even before I was able to reach out, just like check in with neighbors and things like that. And, it was crazy. Like I started saying this during COVID, and I say it all the time. And I was like, nothing's all bad or all good. It was like, it was actually, I met some neighbors a little bit farther down the block that you normally don't talk to, or around the corner. And it's like, oh yes, I've seen that person before, but now I know their name. And just like, we're all just kind of checking in with each other and just like walking around when normally would have been driving. And so, yeah, just like, that was kind of neat to see the world in a different way and interact in a different way. And, but then once I was able to use phone and email and things, I was checking in with people, just again, like not in any kind of salesy way, but just like, hey, like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Here's what I know. What do you know?
Yeah.
It's like, again, treating them as people, not as just a business opportunity. And so that was the big thing for me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And same, Amanda, obviously,
Yeah,
quite a few.
mine's a
review.
little different, but well, initially without so we did a couple of house checks. I think in the initial, when we couldn't reach out, we kind of started with clients or friends that are a little bit older, and kind of just started doing house checks and whatnot. I actually was home alone during Helene. Jay was actually out of town. So I got the pleasure of going to pick him up from the Greenville airport on the Sunday following Helene, and my phone exploded. I sat in the Greenville airport, the cell phone lot, for 3.5 hours making phone calls and text messages. I had 168 messages, just text or whatnot. So I realized pretty quickly that I was pretty useless at home. We joke that our chainsaw is electrical, so we couldn't even really be of any, real use there. So same thing. We did visit. We've lived in our neighborhood for 20 years now, and I knew the majority of my neighbors, but I got to get out and meet a couple newbies on the block, so to speak, and have created relationships from that, which has been great. But we, like I said, after a couple of days, we came back. Once I started making contact, we cleaned out, several refrigerators on behalf of our clients. We got into their homes. They were out of town, or maybe they don't live here full time. So we did a lot of hiking in and cleaning out fridges, which was, as little as that sounds, to come back to your home and not have your refrigerator growing new things, I think was probably a blessing. We got lots of thank yous on that. But we were only in town, like I said, once I realized, how detrimental it is to be connected or not to be connected to the world, we ended up going to Charleston and living with some friends down there for a little while. Again, reaching out, reconnecting, and then we brought back supplies and we did a big donation drive, which was awesome. But once we got power and water, we live in Woodfin, so we were really fortunate. Ours came on, I think, within about 14 days. I've kind of push that out of my brain now, but a hot minute. So we came back and started to resurface, and then it was once again going back into let's reconnect with people, let's check in, and then we did. Jay's a licensed drone pilot, so he was doing a lot of drone flying for anybody that needed damage assessments and roof assessments and things like anything that we could do. It was not on the real estate. We were not writing offers or any of that. I don't think many of us were at that point. And everything kind of just went to a halt in our world on the showings and things like that. But again, it was I think that's a really good way to put it, Buck, is like nothing's really bad, nothing's really good. You really do learn a lot about your neighbors, your relatives, your industry in itself, and how resilient and amazing everyone is that, as part of LOTSAR, and people just really came to the forefront. So anyway.
Yeah. So I do have a specific question for you, because
Okay.
you're more of a leadership. When was the first time you brought your agents back together, and what were your conversations with the agents who were struggling during that time?
We came back, let's see, gosh, that is a good question. Pretty much as soon, I'm trying to think of when we had our first team meeting, Heather. I know it's been so blurry. It was about a month, I think.
Okay.
I met with, once we got cell phone connection, absolutely. I did a lot of just visits, check-ins, things like that. How are you? How's your water situation? Things, whatnot. And I think we were all in communication within that. So once I was in Charleston, I was able to kind of get some sporadic communication to my team. But yeah, about a month when we really sat down. And like I said, I had pretty much chatted or been with everyone on an individual basis prior to that. But I think everyone had to, everyone, it was a grieving and a more, it was a lot of emotion along with this. And I think I grew up on the coast of North Carolina. I went to school in Charleston. Who would have ever thought that I would have basically been evacuated to Charleston, South Carolina from a hurricane in Western North Carolina. I've done a lot of hurricanes in my life and never seen anything to this extent. It still is mind blowing. So I think all of us, it was very much a sensitive, I went to our Charlotte office actually first. And I would say that having an outside office, it was amazing how many ties are to this beautiful place that we live in and are a part of. Everybody, what can we do? How can we do it? So after that, I think after I, kind of got a little refreshed from an outside perspective, it was about a month, I think, before we sat down and kind of just took a deep breath and said, what the heck are we in for? Real estate I don't even think we talked that much about real estate, to be honest. It was, how are you? What can we do? What do you need? What do your clients need? What do your families need? Things like that. So it was very much I was probably more personal than it was professional at that first meeting, for sure.
I love that. I think everyone probably shares the same sentiment. So, David, same question to you, and to kind of refresh the question. So, business-wise, I know Johnson Property Group especially did a lot after the storm. So, how many weeks did you say would it be, or month, till you started thinking about business? And when you started thinking about it, what were your actions?
Actually, in hindsight, at the time, I didn't think about it being business because myself, like so many on my team, we have a servant's heart. The first thing I did after the storm was just immediately start driving around and checking on people. And as quick as I could get downtown and so many other locations, I'm going to see what their needs were directly. Our team mobilized, put together a distribution center very quickly. It started very small and grew just very quickly, as did my church. As a matter of fact, supplies were running between our distribution and my church. I personally made trips down to the Southern Pines area to bring supplies and make arrangements with other Keller Williams agents to bring supplies up. So, I was doing things like that, now in hindsight, I guess that is what makes me a realtor being up here, is because of the servant attitude and the servant heart that I have. So at that time, I didn't think of that being real estate, following up with so many people. While I was in Southern Pines and just a few days after the storm, and while I was in Charlotte, I contacted every single person that I had done business with or that I knew on my phone. And because I had internet connection. And, I did all those things, and we did those things for quite a few weeks. Actually, it was over a month, I think, before our team got back together officially. But myself, like so many on our teams, when we got back together and we started doing things that you would normally think of as real estate, which is making those lead gen calls or whatever, those sort of things, it really felt kind of awkward to me. I had a strong guilty feeling come across, because I'm thinking, number one, I don't like lead gen because I don't like the cold call.
Likes lead gen.
I love, however, don't take that wrong, I love follow up. And so that's what I call my lead gen. I call it follow up, because it's just maintaining that relationship and just having that conversation. Never even really sometimes bringing up real estate, because it's not always there and it doesn't need to be. But when I got back to business, it was making those calls and making sure the closings I had coming up were everything was happening. The attorneys were getting what they needed. The documents were in place, all this sort of thing. Working with our admin team, etc. Prior to that, it was distressed properties that I had listed during the storm and under contract in some cases. Are we going to take them off market? What do you need? How many subs you need, and all those things. So I didn't see it as real estate as much as just helping out and serving. But in hindsight, I guess I was fulfilling the role that I think as a realtor I should be fulfilling, which is serving and seeing what people's needs were, whether they were my active clients or not.
Yeah, I love that. Adam, same to you. So again, what was your first kind of conscious thought of coming back to work after the storm?
So I had cell service for a little bit right after the storm before it actually went down. And during that time, I actually had a listing that was pending that was going to go live the week after the storm. One other listing, both of those folks had left voicemail messages saying,
Terminating. Great.
Terminate. So I can't say that it didn't cross my mind, right? So that was like, oh, what's this going to look like? I had no idea what it was going to look like or what it was going to, but like everybody else, it wasn't at the forefront. It crossed my mind, but then my goal, the same, was just finding out how people were, right? Cell service went away pretty quickly. I was fortunate to have access to Starlink, so I was able to, as long as I had battery and I could get I didn't have a generator, which didn't last very long, but at least I could get a little bit of connectivity here or there, which is good. So when everything came back, it was just spent, same thing, checking in on people, seeing how they were they okay? What did they need? What could I do? Because again, ultimately, it's a service-related business. It's a relationship business. And my goal throughout my business is to serve my clients at the highest possible level. And at that point, it wasn't about business. It was about, are you okay? Through the process and as communications came back up and I was able to have conversations, for the most part, folks were good, but they needed resources and access to things. And if I could provide that to them, I did. I spent 4 weeks with different volunteer situations, mostly through our church. We had 2 food trucks that come in from out of state. We're providing hot meals, so I was spending a lot of time delivering to Guerin Creek, Fairview, Swannanoa, places like that. And I was able to see the stuff firsthand, which was really, you mentioned a little bit of guilt. I heard a word used during this process. It was called guiltitude. Yeah, and that was exactly it, because I was so grateful that my family, immediate family folks were okay, but I felt guilty about that, right? So I was grateful and felt guilty all at the same time. So it was just a matter of, how can I serve? What can I do? How can I help out? What do you need? How can I help provide that logistically? If it's just an ear, right? A lot of people, when I was able to talk to them, they just had conversations. They just wanted to talk with somebody outside of, the situation a little bit, and just being able to provide that. And it didn't seem like business. It wasn't business, even though it's intrinsically related with business, because that's what my business is based on. What all of our businesses are based on is caring for people. So it just felt like a continuation of what we usually do, right?
Felt like a natural extension of who we are.
Perfect. Perfect.
I love that. All right. Pop quiz. What is the one thing they all did?
Well, I noticed that empathetic, caring, listening, just reaching out and loving the people who are already your clients, but putting yourself into your community, I think is wonderful. And I think,
Yeah, I just feel like it came back to that kind of old school, like, just reach out, just talk to people, call the people, and do things. And when I admitted I didn't do it, I'm a product of my generation. I hate the telephone, so don't call me. But I think it's just so genuine, and I think that's what a lot of us are afraid of as agents is cold calling, or Dave, you've actually said it before, you call them care calls. So it's kind of like, just call those who you care about. But yeah, that was definitely the common thread when I pre-interviewed all of them, was just like getting brass tacks, right? Just call the people, just talk to the people.
I have a cliche term. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We say that all the time on our team, and it is so true. It's simple, but it's not an easy thing to do, because those calls take time, those visits take time. Helping people takes time, but if you want to grow your business, that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And for myself, I was in that predicament of I couldn't necessarily get a hold of people, so I kind of gave up. Not that I was giving up on anybody, but we relied a lot on social media. But to Dave's point, who was even seeing that? A lot of us didn't have phones. I was saying I had the privilege of being away for a while, which was nice that I can run operations for our team. But same, I kind of, went into myself and just did social media and emails and texts. But I love that the phone calls are really kind of what salvaged all of your guys' business.
And I would just add to that, part of what I do as far as trying to take care of my clients is, like, sometimes I directly ask them, like, how do you prefer to communicate? Like, some people only text, some people only email, some people call. Sometimes people use all different things, and it's hard to keep track of things sometimes. But yeah,
Meet them where they're at.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all calling.
I love that. Well, that's fair. That's a fair point. But whatever, meeting that person wherever
Yeah.
they're at. So I want to kind of dig in just on this really quick because I do want some actionable items for people who are like, okay, I'm going to do it. Adam, we'll start with you. What do you use a CRM or so day one? Do you have a spreadsheet? Do you have a CRM? How are you organizing your kind of sphere?
CRM at that time, I've always coming from that,
Yeah. Can we ask what you
vertical. So at that time, I was using KV Core.
Okay.
I've since added Follow Up Boss to my tech stack, and that's my primary CRM at the moment. But at the end of the day, the best CRM is the one that you use, right? So it doesn't really matter as long as you got a system. There are people who are super successful with a spreadsheet or whatever. If you're organized that way, fantastic. I am absolutely not. I'm not that
Sitting
guy.
right next to him.
and that's it. But that's just it. It's what you're going to use. So having systems in place, and that was my go-to at that point. I'm like going down my list. I'm figuring out. I'm looking at all my past clients, specifically kind of triaging the ones I know that are in a position that were either close to water or on the side of a mountain or in a wooded area, things like that, but no real preferential, but just making sure that as I triage that and reaching out to them and just making sure that all the people I've got in the pipeline, people I'm currently working with, people are a couple months out.
Yeah.
Because I want to see how they're doing, what's up with their situation. I have a lot of folks that are relocating to here from out of the area. At that point in time, I had a listing in Whittier, up on the side of a mountain, surrounded by gigantic trees. Folks live in Florida, so the first chance I got to get out there to put eyes on the house to make sure everything was okay.
Right.
Because they were, they needed that assurance that everything was fine.
Yeah.
So it was just going through that. So KV Core and just working through that list.
Yeah. Love it. Dave, same question to you. So how are you organizing your contacts and what did that look like kind of after the storm to work through the list?
So we use a CRM as well. As you alluded to, I have a pipeline that's in a spreadsheet that is pretty robust and full of formulas out the wazoo. My background in IT is systems programmer, analyst. Then I got into project management and team management and all that. So I like details and I like being organized. I don't like to surprises and I don't like to guess where my information is. So all of my information's in there, and if it's in there, it's usually on my phone as well. And so I jumped into that. That made it easy. Having systems in place, as he said, the best CRM is the one you're using. The best system is the one you're using. If you don't have a system, use it. That made it easy for me to reach out to people. And I want to add something to what we're all talking about. We're talking about how we reached out. The interesting thing I found during the storm is how many people, because of those relationships that I had established, they cared and they were worried about me and they were blowing my phone up. When I got to a location where I had coverage, all of a sudden I had 50 texts. Are you okay? How's your family? This, that, and the other. That is the amazing thing that really got me at my core during the storm, is how much people really even cared about me to reach out to me. And I always try to find something. I've heard before, I'm an eternal optimist, so I like to always find something good and something bad. And if there is something about that terrible storm that we all went through, is how it, even for just a brief moment of time, got us thinking about each other again at a personal, caring level.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. And Amanda, you can answer this personally, like how you keep yourself organized or maybe your agents.
Yeah, well, I teach about CRMs and databases and diving into it. And that's actually probably right before the storm. That's kind of, do you have a database? Are you using it? We do have a CRM with our website and our back-end system. Personally, I use a good old Google spreadsheet. I like Excel. It does a lot of amazing things, and I'm kind of nerdy like that. But ultimately, I take that and then dump it in and integrate it into a CRM and kind of figure out. So my goal as the education director, because we all do talk differently, we all communicate differently. So what works for you? What is your style? And one of our big things is just do something, right? If you're not doing anything, that's probably not going to go so well. So just do something, whether it is a text message, an email, email, a phone call, a CRM, you know, whatever that is. But yes, one of the big things that I challenged my entire firm with was to really dive into their database. And I can say that our office specifically, I know Heather, I'll give her some kudos. She dove into her database and put it on paper. And it's a lot of times that we just get caught up in doing the deals and we forget to stop and really just import that information because it is our book of business. But yeah, whatever you're doing, continue to do it and try to build upon it as kind of my education side of things. But yes, I use, like I said, a good old Google spreadsheet. I do integrate it depending on the client and who they are, that relationship into a CRM as well. And then good old Gmail. Gmail has so much functionality. There are reminders. You can set up templates. There's all kinds of things. So if a CRM is just too big, it's too expansive, it feels too generic. I've heard that quite a bit. It doesn't feel like it's the messaging that I want to send out. Your Gmail is so capable that you can put tools together that will simplify your life over and over. So I kind of take it as like the Goldilocks stance, you know, this is the big picture, this is the medium size, and this is if you're not doing anything through this, you know, kind of thing. So that's kind of what I recommend. Yeah.
Love that. That's great advice. What about you, Buck? How did you organize everything?
I do a lot with a couple different things. Kind of one is just like in my phone, contacts. If somebody calls me, I'll just make notes in the little note box in a contact, and I'll view home inspector and presenter, and so like if I haven't talked with you in 2 years, like, oh, that's right, that's where I met her,
Yeah.
And then also, I feel like I have a pretty good brain, but at this point I know where the holes are too. So, I use a lot of reminders, use a lot of calendar reminders, calendar scheduling. And so and again, like I don't rush people, and I usually say like, well, hey, like, is it okay if I check in with you in 3 to 6 months? Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to remember to call you in 3 to 6 months unless I have that reminder.
Again,
so
okay.
I was like, I'll call you in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, they'll say like, call Kimmy about X, and so
Yeah.
like, oh, that's right. Yeah, we said like, and then so I'll call or text or whatever you prefer.
Text, please. Thank you.
and I'll say like, hey, we talked, back in whenever
Yeah.
about this, and like, here's the new thing I knew about that, or like, what questions you have now,
Yeah.
and so kind of just follow up that way.
I love it. I was slightly underwhelmed by the topic when I was kind of interviewing everyone, and I was a little concerned. I was like, this is kind of boring. Like, we literally just did like real estate 101 and like called people. And I feel like attendees are like, cool, thanks for the advice, but like, it really is what works. And Bucky kind of like jogged my memory on some things I do. By the way, if you have an iPhone, you can schedule send text now. Revolutionary.
Update,
So same, like schedule sending text, schedule sending emails. I schedule send myself
Yeah.
emails.
Yeah.
That's my reminder, or if I can put it on my calendar. But I love it. Just get back to basics, whatever works for you.
And
Yeah.
the breakthrough for me was great when iPhone, like, you get a text and like you can read it and then mark it unread again now. Because before I would like I don't have time to read that now, but I don't want to click it and then I'll forget it. So like I'm like twisting it sideways, like, how can I figure out what they're saying without really looking
Yeah,
at it?
without reading it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to kind of put a bow on it. I'll go through. I have two-part question. What would you have done differently, if anything? And what would you give advice for newer agents or those who are struggling right now? So do differently and advice for struggling agents.
I'll just be quick and say, differently, I was said battery backup for my solar.
Whole house generator, water storage.
Yeah. I don't think I'd do a whole lot different business-wise. What was the second question?
And advice for people who are struggling or newer agents.
Yeah. This COVID was a big hit. Helene was a big hit. Those are big. Hopefully we're not getting that kind of stuff all the time, but there are going to be ups and downs on smaller scales. And I say, like, even if you're kind of doing all the right things, sometimes just, the people, you only have so many people in your active sphere, and not everyone's buying or selling a property at any given time. And sometimes you get 4 hitting at once. You're like, wow, can you guys spread this out a little bit? Or you get those months where it's like, wow, anybody going to do anything?
Yeah.
So, and sure, like I'm not staying uniform in that either. I have ups and downs in my generation of business, and I feel like I'm pretty consistent, but sometimes just life has waves. And so I would say just try to, if you get a big hit and you get a big check, like don't spend it all at once. Like throw some of that in the savings account, because there's going to be some lean times no matter what you do.
Yeah. I love it. And I like that point, kind of, you just spoke to it of, they're few and far between sometimes. I mean, all of you had multi-million dollar quarter, if not month, like Adam, built off of a handful of transactions, or David had 2 handfuls plus, but you know what I mean? Like it's not a numbers game. So I love that you guys all make the point of like making it personal, because I think I'm guilty of the same thing too, trying to broadcast to hundreds or thousands at a time when that's not what makes our business. So I love it, Buck. So Amanda, same question to you. Would you have done anything different, and what advice do you give to struggling agents during this time?
Anything different as far as, well,
Anything.
that's a loaded question, but yes, I can go down the rabbit hole
Where your
there.
brain goes.
But I would say what I see and what I felt when we first started in the industry as far as doing something different is, don't just throw money at things. Really listen to people that have been in the industry. I know, a lot of times it's like buy leads or buy advertising, and literally just, write checks, right? And you've already written a couple checks to get where you are, the license. So that can be really painful. And I just feel like you've already done work. I always would tell people, and even to this day, I think even for those of us that have been doing this for a while, you've already done a lot of the work. You've already invested in your church or your community or your network. You've already started your business without even realizing you started it. So that would be the thing is, like I said, go back to those people that already know you. They already like you. They probably already trust you. So ultimately, if you go to those first, build your business from there versus sponsoring this or throwing postcards in the mail. There's just ultimately a level of personalization that goes much further than the dollar, I would even say, in advertising. But I see, like I said, that I think a lot of new agents, I think we just have to, you have to go buy all the swag and buy all this. And it's like, you don't really, do that later, if you want to. But yeah, I would just say invest in yourself and what you've already, like I said, you've already got a book of business. You've already been living on this earth for so many years, and you've got relationships. So take those and run with them first.
You literally hit the nail on the head. Nobody mentioned spending money at the time. Everyone was volunteering. Everyone was having conversations. Like nobody was spending money.
That's right.
And I think you're right that agents don't know. I don't know anybody here. I just moved here. I don't know anyone. You know somebody.
That's right.
You go to the gas station. You do all these things. So I love it. Great point. So David, same question. Would you do anything differently? And what advice would you have for others who are struggling?
I don't think I'd do anything differently, because it was such a natural reaction that I had to serve those that I knew and did not know. As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure that I reached out to and served so many people that I did not know and probably will never meet again.
Sure.
Whether it was at the church, at our distribution center, making the drives that I mentioned, Manna Food Bank, whatever. It was all of those places that I try to wrap my head around about everywhere and everything I did at the time. I can't even think of all of it. I will probably never meet those people again. But what you do doesn't always have to have some sort of financial benefit back towards you. So no, I would not do anything different.
Yeah. Oh, I think anyone in this room who had 12 transactions in one quarter would probably agree with you. They would. But I think the proof is in the pudding. You did excellent.
Oh, I didn't answer your second question.
I was gonna ask. So what advice would you give to others who want to have similar success?
I would say that, first of all, when I was new in this business, I went 8 months without a paycheck. So I was hungry for a paycheck. I needed a paycheck for my family. So at the beginning, I was really tied to the outcome. I got to get this listing, or I got to get this buyer under contract. I got to do these things. It wasn't until I removed myself from that, and I remembered at the end of the day, and we talk about this all the time on our team, there are human beings, there are lives, there are people, there are other people with lives, jobs, families, kids, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, attached to the other side of that, whether it's your buyer and another agent seller or not. There are lives attached to those. Remember, first and foremost, that those are people that have a life that you need to care about, and you need to try to, well, again, you have both sides of the transaction or not, help those families both win and both get what they need to move on to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing is treat those people with such care and such concern that if they were to sit down and they were to pre-plan their funeral and they would be thinking about who do I want to invite, you're on that list. Because they know that if you care about somebody to that level at the end of your life, none of these material things matter. It's the people that cared about them. If you're on that list, then you have done your job caring about the person at that degree.
I love that.
So what you said, it's not about the money.
It is not about the money at all.
I've heard that multiple times, like when you separate, and it's hard. I feel like we're all probably sitting there where I am. I'm like, ooh, that's so hard to say, and I feel like some people may say that's convenient to say, some top producers, but I mean, really, it's so true if we can kind of internalize that and remember it. I mean, is there any trick you kind of tell yourself to separate, or it's just kind of your mantra at this point?
Well, at this point, it's kind of second nature, but every now and again, I catch myself right on a big transaction or whatever. But my first transaction, as I said, I was so financially strapped, it needed to work. And I had the worst client ever in my 5 years. It was a nightmare. It did not work out. But my next transaction was somebody who called me directly. And then my next transaction was Sphere. And it just started. And then my first year was 27 transactions. And I'm thinking, gosh, not only does this make it easy, but I love it when I can pour into people and care about them.
Yeah.
They say if you do a job that you love, you never feel like you work a day in your life. And if I could literally just go, and so many of you can probably say the same thing, but if I could go around and just visit people, go to the hospital when they're sick, go and, the homebound or whatever, and I could do things like that and just see what people need all day, every day, and then have some transactions,
Great.
I would, because that is why I do this. That is what I love about it.
Yeah.
Fills your cup.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Adam, same question. Would you do anything differently? And what is your advice to other agents who are struggling?
What he said.
What?
But for real, no, I don't think I'd do anything differently. I can't think of anything really that is more important than just caring for and loving on people in that sense. As far as advice, exactly that. It's don't tie what you do to the financial gain side of it. It'll never work out for you because you'll never be happy. You'll never be satisfied with that. Do it because you want to. Do it because you have a servant's heart. Do it because you care about people. The financial stuff will follow. It always does. Just like you said, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And that's as true a statement as you'll ever hear. As far as advice for folks that are struggling, we use it a lot in some of our groups. There's a book called Chop Wood, Carry Water, and we say that all the time. Chop wood, carry water. If you haven't read that book, pick that book up. It's an easy read. It's inexpensive. You can read it in an afternoon.
It's very
yeah.
small.
But the words that are and the ideas that are put forth in that is really good. Just do the things that need doing. Sometimes they're not fun. Picking up the phone, calling people. A lot of times, is not prospecting, not fun, whatever. But if you pick up the phone and you call somebody and you genuinely ask how they're doing, you're not calling to say, "Hey, you ready to buy, sell, invest? How's things? We hadn't chatted in a while. How's the family? Use Ford script or whatever." I'm not a big script guy, right? Scripts are great outlines to keep you on track, maybe, but ask questions from the heart. Genuinely care. It comes across. I don't care how good an actor you are, your vocal inflections, things like that. You're not going to fake that. It's real. So do the things that need doing. Do it every day, and do it because you want to, not because you have to, and it'll make all the difference in the world. And then be authentic and be intentional in everything that you do. If you do those two things, you're good. It's not some secret formula. It's just be your authentic self and be intentional about.
If you're not authentic, they will smell it a mile away.
Yeah, I say people's BS meters they're super honed, right? Especially now, especially after something like COVID, after the hurricane. Yeah. But it's just something. If you're doing it right, you never have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Did you have something else?
Yeah, I just want to add on that in this sense of being authentic. I want to say it's not all about the money. It's not only about the money, because this is a job. We live in a capitalist society. You know, I am try to be honest with people about that. Like times when I've seen like myself, like, geez, you know, I really, like you said, like there's times where you're like, man, I need this one. I need this one to happen. It's like, wait, I'm putting my needs ahead of the client.
Yeah.
And that's when you start cutting corners. Like, no, like, okay, I got to back off and like be able to tell people is like, hey, I'm starting to have some doubts about this. This is still your call, but there's some warning signs here, and I'd rather have a happy client in 2 years than you go through this and push something. And but you know, if anyone is really, you know, not about the money, I'll give you my Venmo and next commissions.
I was like, that one's done.
I'll put it to a good cause.
I love it. We're gonna wrap it up there. Thank